I'd been basting that turkey for 5 hours, trying to keep things civil in my own house, when my mother-in-law Eleanor set her manicured hand on some younger guy's shoulder like she was about to knight him. "Gavin appreciates Lydia's potential," she said, loud enough to shake the gravy boat. I was halfway through carving the bird, one I paid for, seasoned and cooked, and all I could do was look at the guy she brought in like he was a contractor or a new puppy. He had that polished lawyer look, navy suit, pocket square, hair so gelled it didn't move. And the tie? Same exact pattern Eleanor gave me 3 Christmases ago. Subtle message? Maybe. Or she just buys in bulk. Lydia gave me that half shrug, the one she uses when she's in on something, but doesn't want to take credit for it blowing up. Like I'm too dumb to connect the dots. Quick note, before listening, which city or country are you watching from? What Eleanor didn't know, because she always thinks she's the smartest one in the room, was that I'd been recording inside this house for 5 months. Ever since Lydia slipped up and said her mom was working on a solution to our compatibility issue, I started treating every conversation like documentation, because with Eleanor, everything's a strategy. "Nice to meet you, Gavin," I said, wiping the knife clean and setting it down. "What do you do?" "Corporate counsel," he said, glancing sideways at Eleanor like she was holding his resume. "Ridgewell and Myers. I also handle high-asset family matters from time to time." Lydia coughed into her napkin. Eleanor smiled like a wedding planner. "We've been married 8 years, together 11. Long enough that I know Lydia never looks at me when her mother's pulling strings." Tessa, Lydia's sister, leaned in and said something slick about strong families and stable men. I passed the cranberry sauce, made from scratch by the way, and said, calm as I could, "Forward planning, huh? Then I hope your prenup talk with Lydia was thorough. Kids, assets, all that. Gets expensive." Table went stone quiet. Gavin blinked. "Prenup?" He looked at Lydia. She stared at Eleanor. "Yeah," I said. "Ironclad. Keeps pre-marriage property separate. Business holdings, too." Eleanor jumped in like a lifeguard. "Obviously that would be revisited. Lydia's been building value since." "Has she?" I asked. "She's still working for your father's company, right? Same title, 5 years running." Harold, my father-in-law, slowly folded his napkin. He doesn't talk much, but something flashed across his face. He was listening. "Lydia's being groomed for leadership," Eleanor said. "Unlike some people's little projects in the garage." "Custom furniture," I said. "You seen my workshop, Gavin? West side of the house. Gets great morning light." Gavin gave me a confused look. "Eleanor said this was Lydia's house. I inherited it 2 years before the wedding," I said. "Prenup carves it out." His face changed. Quick mental math. Corporate salary's decent, sure, but Bergen County 5-bedroom money? That's another league. "But surely Lydia has equity," Eleanor said. "We keep finances separate," I told her. "Her idea. I've got the emails." Lydia filled her wineglass to the rim, didn't say a word, just stared at the tablecloth like it had answers. Eleanor's voice kicked back in like she was presenting a resume. "Gavin comes from a solid family, excellent education, respected in his firm. He believes in legacy, stability, real foundations." Tessa twisted her wineglass and said it with a smirk. "He actually wants children. That's rare these days." Eleanor chimed in right behind her. "He's always dreamed of 4, a big lively household." I grabbed a roll, buttered it slow. "That's ambitious. Hopefully the paperwork covers tuition. Even public schools aren't free anymore." Gavin tried to play casual, but his voice cracked just a bit. "How's the, furniture thing going?" "Booked 12 weeks out," I said. "Just shipped 2 walnut tables to a gallery in Montclair. Commission check lands Friday." Eleanor cut in like she'd been holding it in. "One good month doesn't make a career." I pulled my phone out and tapped my bank app open. 7 good years, Eleanor, and not just sales. Galleries, custom orders, reinvested earnings, and a portfolio that's paid off more than Lydia's last promotion. She leaned over, pretending not to look, but her neck craned anyway. "Money talk at dinner is tacky." "Introducing your daughter's replacement at Christmas dinner is what, exactly?" I said. "Classy?" Lydia shifted, pushing her chair back an inch like she was getting ready to bolt. Gavin cleared his throat and looked right at me. She told me you'd already decided to separate, that it was mutual. She told you that? I asked. And what else did she feed you? Tessa perked up like she'd been waiting. That you can't have children, that you misled Lydia for years. I actually laughed. Just once. Couldn't stop it. That's a new one. I use protection, on purpose. I don't make babies with people who treat life like a quarterly report. Eleanor slammed her fork down. How dare you speak that way in front of— 8 years, Eleanor, I said. 8 years of you, how dare you your way through every opinion I've ever had, every choice I made. 8 years of calling my career a hobby and telling Lydia she could do better. Lydia finally opened her mouth. You're being dramatic. Am I? I asked, locking eyes with her. You haven't touched me in 6 months. You think I didn't notice? Gavin looked down. Tessa went still. I didn't let up. You opened a separate bank account 3 months ago. I've seen the apartment listings on your work laptop. And the Rivercrest Hotel on Tuesday afternoons? Booked with the firm card. Harold's head snapped up like someone lit a match under his chair. Lydia sat upright, stiff as a board. You went through my computer? No, I said. You left it open by the coffee maker, right next to the card statement with all the bolded hotel charges. She blinked hard. Those were vendor meetings. Every Tuesday? I said. Funny, your assistant says Tuesdays are for Pilates and your Headspace afternoons. She's chatty. Probably shouldn't offer wine at the office. You could hear forks hit plates. The silence came in fast, heavy, like someone cut the power. Gavin's hand slid off the table like he was prepping to stand. He didn't look at anyone, just stared at the door like it might unlock itself. Eleanor hissed through her teeth, sharp and mean. Enough. You're embarrassing yourself. Not yet, I said, steady as I reached into my pocket. We can play the clip from Thanksgiving, or the one from last month when you called the matchmaker and said you were fixing a mistake. Her face drained so fast it scared Lydia. You recorded me in my daughter's home? My home, I corrected. And yes, perfectly legal. My lawyer confirmed it twice. Gavin cleared his throat and finally stood. I think I should go. Don't rush, I said. Dessert's lemon tart. Your favorite, right, Eleanor? I remembered. She snapped her head toward me. You can't divorce Lydia. Without us, you're nothing but a garage hobbyist with delusions. Before I could answer, Harold spoke. His voice cut clean through the room. Eleanor, sit. She froze like she'd forgotten he existed, then lowered herself back into the chair. Harold turned to Gavin. Mr. Reed, I apologize. You were misled tonight. This situation won't affect any professional ties with your firm. Gavin nodded once, tight-lipped, and started edging toward the foyer like he'd just realized he was in the wrong movie. I set my phone face down on the table. For clarity, since memories are getting selective, the prenup defines separate property as non-marital, Section 7, subsections B through D. The house, the workshop, and my business accounts are listed there. We'll renegotiate, Eleanor shot back. No, I said. We won't. Tessa leaned forward, eyes bright. You charge my sister rent? That's disgusting. It was her idea, I said. She said it gave her pride of contribution. I've got the emails where she insisted, including the follow-ups. Lydia poured herself more wine. Her hand shook, glass clinking against the bottle. This is cruel. This is honest, I said. And since we're being honest, I didn't forget the Rivercrest receipts. Harold's head turned slowly toward Lydia. Those charges were on the company card. Client development, she said fast. I was building relationships. Names, he said. Appointments. The room went still. Even the clock on the wall sounded loud. Tessa opened her mouth, then thought better of it and closed it again. I reached into my jacket pocket and slid a folded printout across the table toward Harold. Dates, times, same pattern, all Tuesdays. He unfolded it carefully and read every line. His jaw tightened, then worked like he was chewing something bitter. We'll discuss this privately, he said at last. We passed private the moment Gavin walked in here, I said. This stopped being a family dinner when you tried to audition my replacement. Lydia stared at me like I'd tipped the tree over myself. Her eyes were glossy, angry, and scared all at once. I pushed my chair back and stood, the legs scraping loud against the floor. The phone stayed on the table, right between Eleanor and Harold. Screen dark but heavy with everything it held. Harold stood up slow, like his knees were older than the moment, but his spine was done bending. He didn't look at Eleanor or Lydia when he spoke. "Why are we doing this at Christmas Eve dinner?" Eleanor jumped in before anyone else could breathe. "Because he trapped her. He seduced her with his little crafts, then refused to give her children." I laughed once, sharp and ugly. "Your legacy is a daughter who lets you run her marriage and a son-in-law you tried to swap out like a bad lease." "How dare!" Eleanor snapped, pushing back from the table. "Cole," Lydia started, reaching toward me like she might still grab something. I lifted my hand and cut her off. "Colin," I said, even and clear. "The name is Colin." Harold pointed at the papers still spread on the table. "This ends tonight. That card is for business use only." Lydia blinked hard, like her eyes were drying out. "Dad, you're not—" "I am," he said. "And I'm also asking why my wife is auditioning men for my daughter while she's still married." That was enough for Gavin. He slipped past the foyer mirror and out the front door without even grabbing his coat. Cold night, no goodbye, no backward glance. Eleanor lunged and caught Harold's sleeve. "I was protecting our family's future." "With fraud?" he asked, looking down at the statements. His voice wasn't loud, just flat, which somehow made it worse. I reached for my coat hanging on the banister. My hands were steady, which surprised me. "I'll get out of your way." Harold stepped in front of me, gentle but firm. "Colin, you've been decent to us. You didn't deserve this. I'm sorry it happened here." "I'm sorry too," I said, "but I'm not sorry it's happening." Behind us, Lydia's glass tapped against the table as she set it down too hard. "We can talk about this later, please." "We could have," I said, "before tonight, before Gavin, before your mother decided to rewrite my life." Eleanor started pacing, muttering about grandchildren and reputation like those words were spells she could still cast. Tessa stayed quiet for once, eyes darting between her parents like she was recalculating her loyalties. Harold turned to Eleanor and said something low I couldn't hear, but it stopped her cold. She sank back into her chair, shoulders tight, lips pressed thin. Lydia looked at me again, really looked this time, like she was seeing me without her mother's filter. Whatever she saw didn't help her. She didn't stand. She didn't follow. I shrugged into my coat and stepped toward the door. The house felt smaller now, like the walls had finally admitted what they were built to hide. I opened the door, letting a slice of cold December air cut through the room, and I walked out before anyone could say my name again. I walked to the foyer, hearing the explosion behind me start to build. Eleanor's voice cut through first, shrill and frantic, shouting something about grandchildren and bloodlines. Lydia followed with a sharp demand for respect, as if the words still meant anything in that house. Tessa's voice chimed in last, lazy and cold, throwing out a line about men who refused to provide like it was gospel. Harold didn't say a word. He never did when the room got ugly. He just let it play out until the noise tired itself out. But this time, he followed me. I was slipping one arm into my coat when I heard him behind me. "Colin," he said. "Wait." I paused with my other sleeve still hanging loose. "The Shore House," he said. "The one Eleanor always says we own together. It's actually in my name only. You ever need to get clear for a while, it's yours for as long as you want it." I looked at him for a second, studying his face. He wasn't trying to fix anything. He was just offering space. "I'll be fine," I said. "I've been getting ready for this for months." He gave a slow nod, like he already knew. "Your work," he said. "It's good. I bought a piece, actually. It's in my office. She'd have a fit if it were in the house." I didn't mean to ask, but it came out anyway. "Which one?" "Cherry bench with the dovetail stretchers," he said. "You called it North Ferry. Reminds me there's always a way across if you want one." That hit harder than I expected. I shook his hand, firm. "You take care of yourself, Harold." He didn't say much, just nodded once and squeezed my shoulder. "You too." I stepped outside into the cold December air. The chill hit my face like a wake-up slap, and I welcomed it. No shouting. No passive-aggressive digs. Just the crunch of my boots on the walk and the buzz of my phone going off in my pocket again. I didn't look. I didn't need to. I knew who it was. I kept walking. The phone lit up before I even got the keys in the ignition. Lydia first, then Eleanor, then Tessa, all within 30 seconds. I let every one of them go to voicemail. Whatever they had to say, they should have said it before dessert. I started the car, turned up the radio. Bing Crosby was on, soft and slow, like the kind of music that used to fill the house before it filled with expectations. Once I hit the main road, I made the call that mattered. "Hannah," I said, "sorry to bother you on Christmas Eve. It's time. Can we file first business day after the holidays?" She didn't hesitate. "We can. We've got the recordings, the prenup, the emails, the statements." "You ready for the blowback?" "I'm past ready," I said. The roads were mostly empty. Just a few scattered headlights and holiday lights, still glowing in windows like nothing had gone wrong anywhere. I pulled into the driveway of the old house my grandfather left me. The same one Eleanor always called too masculine, like it was an insult. I unlocked the front door and stepped into the smell I grew up with. Sawdust, linseed oil, faint trace of old pine. The shop light still worked like always. I flipped it on and stood there for a second, breathing it in. In the kitchen, I reached for the top cabinet and grabbed the good bourbon, the one I bought for milestones, the one Lydia never acknowledged except to slide it behind something else. I poured a glass, neat, and set it on the counter next to my phone. I opened my files and tapped one of the recordings. Eleanor's voice came through crisp and smug. "I'll handle the colon problem by spring. He's not the man Lydia needs long term." I stopped it right there. That was enough. I closed the app, shut the phone screen, and carried my drink over to the window. Snow had started falling, just the light kind that coats the street quietly without much fuss. It looked untroubled. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel angry. I felt done. Freedom, I realized, is quiet. The kind you notice only when you stop explaining yourself to people who were never listening. The first business day came fast. Hannah didn't wait. Papers were filed before lunch, and the process server dropped Lydia's copy at her office reception desk, not the house. I didn't want another scene, just clear boundaries. I changed every password tied to my accounts, banking, credit cards, the garage keypad. She wouldn't be strolling in to grab keepsakes or make a scene. I even had the alarm company reset the silent entry code. Her name came off the emergency contact list, too. My accountant didn't waste time either. He flagged the Rivercrest charges and sent a quiet memo to the company controller. Attached were the same Tuesday dates I'd printed for Harold. No accusations, just documentation. That's what gets things done. I stayed quiet on socials. No vague posts, no hints, no back and forths with people fishing for gossip. The last thing I needed was some cousin screenshotting my pain. Lydia texted me 23 times over 2 days. Half were, "Let's talk," and the rest were, "You're ruining everything." I read them. I didn't answer. Eleanor didn't waste time either. She emailed Hannah with a dramatic subject line. Urgent, financial abuse and divorce coercion. Like that would scare someone with a law license and a folder full of receipts. Hannah responded by attaching the audio of Eleanor speaking to the matchmaking agency last fall. Her exact words. "We'll need someone professional, ambitious, a real upgrade." She called Gavin that name 3 times. Tessa got in on it next. Left a voicemail saying I was tearing apart a family that welcomed you. She used the word loyalty like I'd ever seen it from her side of the table. I saved it, but didn't respond. Then Gavin sent a single email. Short, just, "I was misinformed. I wish you luck." No subject line. I archived it without replying. Harold called once, just once. His tone was steady. "Controller has the charges," he said. "We'll take it from here. You do what you need to do." I thanked him and hung up. Around the same time, my gallery contact in Hoboken reached out. Spring show was confirmed. They'd been following the Walnut series and asked if I could add 2 new pieces to round out the collection. I said yes and spent the next 2 nights sketching like I used to. Focused, fast, no second voice behind me critiquing angles or calling my work a hobby. I slept straight through both nights, first time in months. The house was quiet in a way I didn't realize I'd missed. No perfume cloud floating through the hallway. No music I didn't choose. No footsteps pacing while I was trying to think. No second voice whispering what a real husband should be. Just me, the smell of wood shavings, and a silence that didn't feel lonely. It felt earned. Eleanor didn't slow down. She went on a quiet campaign, the kind that hides behind brunches and phone trees. Friends of friends started hearing things about me, that I was unstable, that I was afraid of fatherhood, that Lydia had been patient and generous and I'd wasted her best years. None of it came straight to my face. It never does when it's meant to stick. Hannah handled it the way she handles everything. She sent a short, clean memo to HR at the family company. No emotion, just references, same exhibits, same calendar conflicts, same acknowledgement they already had in writing. It shut down the whispers before they got legs. Lydia tried a new angle after that. She called me late one afternoon, crying hard enough that I almost didn't recognize her voice. She talked about betrayal and trust and privacy violations, like she was reading off a script she'd practiced. "Legal in my house," I said when she paused for breath. "Your mother announced a replacement for me at my own table." She went quiet, then she hung up. About a week later, the company pulled her card privileges pending review. That wasn't something I asked for, and it wasn't something I stopped. I didn't celebrate it, but I didn't lose sleep either. Consequences don't need my approval. Gavin disappeared from the picture completely. I noticed because someone showed me his social feed at the shop one afternoon. Every photo near my in-laws was gone. Fundraisers, holiday parties, group shots. Smart move. Tessa tried to get under my skin one last time. She texted me a photo of a sonogram, not hers, some cousin's. The caption read, "This is what joy looks like." I stared at it for a second, then deleted the thread. I wasn't playing that game. A day later, Harold emailed both Hannah and me. One line, no fluff. Company will reimburse the hotel, then deduct from Lydia's bonus. Internal matter. That was it. No apology, no explanation, just action. Eleanor followed with a long email that same night. Paragraphs about legacy and sacrifice, and how families survive by making hard choices. I didn't read it twice. I replied with a single attachment. The prenup page that defined separate property. No message, just the document. Then I blocked the thread. The spring show announcement went live the next morning. The gallery posted a short video of my oak console, close-ups on the joinery and finish. Orders jumped before lunch. 2 custom inquiries came in before dinner. One from a couple in Jersey City. One from an office renovation downtown. A local magazine reached out that same week. They wanted to feature the shop, talk process, talk design. I agreed with one condition. No mention of my marriage, no personal angles, just the work. They said that was fine. That night, I closed the shop early. I heated up leftovers, turned on the radio, and sat at the workbench with a plate balanced on a scrapboard. Same station my grandfather used to leave on. Same low hum filling the room. No notifications, no drama. Just the sound of wood settling and music in the background. I finished eating, wiped my hands on a rag, turned off the lights, and locked up, feeling like I'd finally won something small that mattered. Mediation landed in late January, cold and gray. The kind of day where even the parking garage felt hostile. The firm had booked one of those modern conference rooms with too much glass and not enough warmth. Everything in there echoed, heels, zippers, even breath. Lydia sat across from me in a fitted navy dress, arms crossed, chin tilted up like she was prepping for a magazine cover. Eleanor, of course, planted herself right next to her in a cream jacket with shoulder pads sharp enough to cut drywall. She kept adjusting her pearl necklace, like the room should recognize her authority on sight. Hannah didn't waste time. She slid the prenup folder across the table and tapped it once. "We're not here to renegotiate a signed agreement. This isn't about fairness. It's about what's legal." Eleanor leaned in without looking at the folder. "We'll challenge it. It was signed under pressure. Colin didn't disclose all his assets." Without a word, Hannah pulled her phone out, tapped the screen, and held it near the center of the table. Eleanor's voice filled the room. "He's temporary. She'll be done with him in 3 years. I've already talked to a lawyer. There's a way out." I remembered that recording. It was from our second anniversary party, 2 months after the wedding. Lydia had just left the room when her mother said it. Lydia closed her eyes, just for a second. "We can make this easy," Hannah said. "Mutual release, no alimony, No claims. Separate property stays separate. Everyone walks with dignity. Eleanor recovered fast, leaning back like she was holding court. We're trying to protect reputations. Then stop billing hotel charges to corporate accounts, Hannah replied. We're happy to rely on the exhibits your company already acknowledged. Harold wasn't there, but his signature was. A typed letter sat inside the folder, confirming. We will not contest documented misuse of company funds. Lydia's eyes locked on the paper like it might change if she stared long enough. Her voice came out small. I want my grandmother's china. I nodded. Take it. Take anything that's yours. Eleanor's hands clenched in her lap. And the house? Separate property, Hannah answered, outlined in Section 7 of the prenup. We're moving on. Lydia's mouth twisted. Her eyes never met mine. You're cruel. I kept my voice even. I'm done. That's different. There was nothing else to fight over. We signed the basic agreement. Hannah would handle the final language. No handshake, no eye contact, just initials, full signatures, and the weight of a decade dying in a room with fluorescent lights and no curtains. On the way out, Eleanor whispered something sharp into Lydia's ear. Lydia didn't react, didn't look back, just gathered her bag and walked straight toward the elevator like a woman chasing a version of herself she still believed in. I didn't follow, I didn't speak. I just waited for the room to empty, picked up my copy of the signed agreement, and walked out into the cold. The papers came through the week before Easter. I picked up the envelope from Hannah's office, walked the 3 blocks home, and set it down right in the center of the kitchen table, the same spot where I used to sand tabletops before the shop was finished. No ceremony, just paper, pen, and closure. Eleanor never apologized. I never expected her to. My revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't some grand explosion. It was the silence after her plan collapsed in her own dining room, with her husband watching and saying nothing to save her. That was enough. A few days later, I opened the mail and found a short handwritten note from Harold. I'm taking some space from the noise. Your work is good. Keep going. I stuck it to the shop fridge with one of those cheap magnets shaped like a 2x4 from a lumber yard out in Morris County. Lydia moved into one of those glass box apartments by the river. Steel railing, balcony plants, no personality. I only know because Tessa posted a photo with a fake sweet caption about starting over. Fine by me. Gavin stayed gone. One of my old college buddies spotted him at a charity fundraiser with a woman who looked his age. Natural hair, normal dress. No Eleanor polish. Not a project. Just a woman. Smart man. The spring gallery show brought in enough orders that I finally pulled the trigger on a new bandsaw I'd been eyeing for over a year. American-made, quiet motor, perfect for curved work. Not a trophy, not a victory lap. Just a tool I'd earned with my own hands. Every now and then, I get a text from a number I don't recognize. Always the same kind of thing. Do you ever regret not giving it another shot? I don't answer. Some questions aren't meant to be answered. They're just people looking for a reason to stay in your head. One cold Sunday morning, I drove past Harold's office downtown and saw my cherry bench through the window. He'd turned it so it faced the door like a welcome. I parked across the street and sat there for a full minute. No radio, no phone. Just the kind of quiet that settles into your bones when there's nothing left to explain. I didn't torch anyone on social media. I didn't air it out on some forum or scream in a parking lot. I took back my time, my house, my work, and the proof of what happened. No theatrics, just facts. That's enough. More than enough. When you stop letting people push you around, they figure out real fast you were the wrong man to test. Quick check. When did you finally stop letting someone steer your life? Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Even something as simple as great story means a lot to me.